Hello everyone and welcome back to Spoiler Warning for what will be the final time in this house. This is indeed the last time you'll be looking at that there stain on the wall that so many people have so many opinions of. It will be going because for many reasons I will be moving into a new home. Myself and my family, my partner, our 2 children will all finally be living together. It will be the first time in 12 years that I haven't lived on my own, and it will mean long-term quite a few significant upgrades as well when it comes to the show, when it comes to the stream, when it comes to everything involved. We will be doing everything we can to improve how we live, to improve how we stream, and to improve how we show. So we're going to be very much changing how things go when we return in just under 2 weeks. So the Monday show in 2 weeks, I'm looking at the date now, the 22nd of July is when I am planning to return. On the 12th of July, I'll have internet in the new house, but I will not have a working office because there's an issue with a wall. So on the 22nd, we will return. Tonight, or at least the afternoon show, depending on where you are in the world, will be most about the spoiler warning that has yet to come. Will be most about the birthday from yesterday. We like to do a birthday stream. And will be quite a lot about Money in the Bank and the upcoming Summerslam. It will not be as news heavy as many of our recent shows have been, but I will endeavour to answer as many of your questions as I can still. So if you have questions, please do ask them and I'll do what I can there. But be aware that there is no script for this show. No script at all. We're playing it slightly differently because we move on to what is essentially going to be Season 3 of the Tom Colohue channel. Season 1 was back in the days where I used to be a live host for Sportskeeda. Remember those days when I was hosting on Facebook to their 3 million followers? And there was about 100 people there. Like, great numbers. And then moved into Raw and SmackDown previews on this channel. That was the first incarnation of Spoiler Warning, doing Raw and SmackDown previews on this channel to accompany the Raw preview that I was requested to do during the pandemic for Sportskeeda. The second generation was the advent of Spoiler Warning. Spoiler Warning, the 10 o'clock news show, did take a while to become official. It did take a while, and this was, if anything, an adaptation back in 2021 on January 15th to basically say, look, we need to do something very different here, or I'm not going to be able to call this place home. In the early days of Spoiler Warning, I was very nearly homeless. The pandemic had resulted in me losing my job. It also resulted in no jobs being readily available, and I had bills to pay. And for those of you that don't know, I don't have many people who can help me. I'm also not really one to ask for help, so I white-knuckled it, I grit my teeth, and I did the best that I could. We had a regular Football Manager stream on Twitch once a week. We had Final Fantasy VII Remake. We had Bloodborne on the Twitch stream. We also had Spoiler Warning, eventually having Raw and SmackDown watch parties as well. We are now heading into the 3rd season, the 3rd generation, which will include the formalization of WTF Wrestling and PLE Wednesdays, which I hope people have really enjoyed, because we're going to be going all in on Spoiler Warning, PLE Wednesdays, and WTF Wrestling going forwards. You see, things are going extremely well for me in my life right now. From a point 3 years ago, literally 3 years ago, because a week after now, I got a new job, which has turned the life around a little bit. I had just been through a pretty nasty breakup. The breakup itself wasn't bad. It was very much mutual, but it came at a very bad time. I felt more isolated than ever, and I came this close to homelessness. Thankfully, due to the generosity of people on these streams, I was able to pay another 2 months of rent, genuinely from donations made on these streams. And from that moment to this moment, where I've spent a considerable amount buying a house it could not be more night and day. I've heard it from so many times, I've heard it from so many people, but it is true. If you're going through hell, keep going. I turned 36 yesterday. My life has never been better. I've never been happier. I've never been more fulfilled. I've never been more relaxed. Life is better than it has ever been. And a huge part of that lies with the individuals currently watching this show. Because for 2 months, these shows bought me time. And those 2 months were all I needed. If you're going through hell, keep going. My birthday was yesterday. We usually do a slightly bigger birthday stream, but I haven't really had a birthday this year because I just bought a house and I can't afford one. So my children made me cards. It was very sweet. I'm going to catch up with the chat now. As I have said, we will be doing a Money in the Bank review. This will not be as news heavy a show as typical because it is the goodbye show to this house. I will be making a members only video detailing the new office. Right after this, probably early on tomorrow, I'll be recording something in this office saying goodbye and giving you basically a tour of what I had. But it's difficult because it's not what it was. Usually I'd have a whole TV there, I'd have a whole setup there, I'd have everything lined up. Not today. I've already started packing everything up. Right, to catch up with people. Ishi says happy birthday. Thank you, Ishi. Kelly is happy to see Joe Hendry at NXT Heatwave. Spider-Boss says Drew got suspended after hitting Raw GM Adam Pearce. Razar says hello, Tom, and happy birthday. Thank you, Razar. Danny says, good evening, Tom. What a great Money in the Bank event. I did thoroughly enjoy it. There was a huge element of carnage to it, and I enjoyed that too. Nobody says freestyling it. Yes, no script this time around. It's a rarity, but I literally can't have a script and have a chat at the same time because I don't have 2 screens. DM says, hi, Tom. Hi, DM. Sam says, what is next for Seth? We will find out, but there is certainly still some animosity with CM Punk. Tell you what's not next. More of that World Heavyweight Championship. Eric says, good afternoon, Tom Colohue. Happy belated birthday. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you. Mick also says, happy birthday. Thank you, Mick. Appreciate you too. And thank you always for the efforts that you have made in making sure my name gets out there, particularly to a German audience, but still in general. Marcel says, hi, Tom and chat. How are you all? Doing well, thank you, Marcel. Sean says, since Seth wasn't pinned in the match at Money in the Bank, does the stipulation still stand? Yes, because he didn't win the championship. Spiderball says, when do you think we could see Rhea Ripley back? I've detailed that at length. I expect her roughly around SummerSlam time. Valencia says, hope you have a nice birthday, Tom. It was all right. I spent most of it peeling wallpaper off ceilings, but you know, you do what you can. I also think I broke a steamer, which would have made that whole wallpaper thing a lot easier, but you know, you do what you can. Danny says, let's get them likes smashed right up super high, guys. Thank you, Danny. I will not really be asking for much today. It's not one of those shows. Eric says, last night was incredible. I loved the PLE. It was a lot of fun. Valencia says, happy belated birthday. Yep, thank you kindly. Eric says, the season finale, of more on that shortly. I still hold true that coming up with the name Spoiler Warning was one of the best things my brain has ever done. I can't think of anything that fits better the aesthetic that we go for, and also is as tongue-in-cheek as I am myself. Danny says, a very happy birthday, Tom. Hope's been an incredible one. It's been quiet. I don't really celebrate birthdays. I, for most of my life, have not believed there to be anything worth celebrating. And a lot of people really haven't understood that. And I didn't really understand how obvious that was a sign of depression, but we're out of it now. DM says, I think Rollins will cost Punk and help McIntyre win because Punk screwed Seth too at Money in the Bank, and Seth will screw Punk and lay the ground for Rollins versus Punk at WrestleMania 41. Steve says, is it just me or was this weekend's shows underwhelming and uninspired booking? Disagree, though I do think certain elements were pretty obvious and a little bit dull. I'm going to go ahead and mention the CM Punk business. We'll get to that. Marcel says, hi Tom, do you have more info on John Cena's farewell tour? Yeah, apparently it's going to last all of 2025 and he'll appear for about half of the Raw shows. He's expected to be on Raw. Ole welcomes, he's complimenting Ed for being a mod. Evening Dan says, is it your birthday? Happy birthday. It was yesterday. Thank you very kindly for that. Sean says, back again. How are you? Doing well, thank you, Sean. Oddly relaxed. Everything is coming up Millhouse at the moment. Brad says, saw a report from Meltzer. Thank you for sourcing. Stating that we'll more than likely be getting a Women's IC and Women's United States Championship soon. Have you heard anything about this? Personally, I've not, but there's been rumblings about secondary Women's Championships for a long time now. My big concern with this rumour, and I will reiterate rumour, is that they don't have enough time on pay-per-views to get both women's matches on there anyway. They've in fact been rotating. There was only one women's match at Money in the Bank, and it wasn't for a championship, so I'm not sure they actually have space for it. Cal says, hope you have the best birthday, mate. I know you said you don't really celebrate it, but deserve a day where you chill, you're a great content creator, but most importantly, you're a better person. Thank you, Cal. I struggle sometimes with these birthday shows because I'm essentially saying to you guys, hey, be complimentary, and you don't have to be. Like, you could just go in on the insult. You could roast the hell out of me. One day we'll do a roast, and I'll just let you guys go for it, and I'll read them all out and, like, hurt me. But, you know, I don't know how to explain it. I'm a lot more comfortable with people hating me than liking me. In fact, I get confused when people don't hate me. It's very strange. Robin Dave says, any plans on bringing back Q&A? We do Q&A every single stream, mate. I mean, I try and answer as many questions as possible for that reason. Thank you, Khalid. Appreciate you. Marcel, I wish you luck with that one. I wish you a lot of luck with that one. Alay says, happy belated birthday. Appreciate you, Alay. Michael says, happy belated birthday as well. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you. The record setter. Give me a whole yeah. Good to see you in, mate. Says, good lad. I've been seeing your name popping up a lot on the channel recently, and I've not really dipped into your shows as much as I probably should, but I certainly will be doing over the next few days. We smaller creators certainly... we don't owe each other per se, but I definitely think we should be sticking together and helping each other grow. I've seen the benefit of that with other channels like See Wrestling and Wrestling Days have been a big help to me. So I'm glad to see you in, mate, and hopefully we'll see each other a bit more in the future on both sides. Spider Boss also gives me a happy belated birthday. Cheers, mate. Danny says, so sorry to hear about them troubles you had in the past, Tom. So glad things are looking up and forward. Delighted for my friend. Appreciate you, Danny. Thank you, Mustafa. Uriel says, happy belated birthday. Thank you, Uriel. Ricky says, I love that advice, buddy. Thank you for that. No problem. Thank you, Ricky. Alexa Gamer says, howdy, everyone. Howdy. Eric just says, such sage advice. I tried. It's stuff that was said to me way back when. She says, hope you're okay, Tom. Doing very, very well, in fact. Tiffany says, you recommended to me my Wrestling Days. Glad he shared. I cannot put him over enough. He has done wonderful by me, and I hope in the future, as now that I'm watching more of his videos as well, that I can continue to repay that favour. Sean said, did you see the Money in the Bank post show? John Cena said WrestleMania 41 isn't his last, and his retirement tour will go the whole year. He was also asked a question about Vince and responded by saying, I want to talk about the future. Yeah, he refused to answer it, which is his prerogative, of course. I did see some discourse attacking the journalists for asking that question. It was Brandon Thurston. He is beyond reproach, and anyone who disagrees with a choice by Brandon Thurston basically disagrees with the concept of journalism. Christopher says the Wire 6 didn't appear at Money in the Bank. Correct, they did not. Spider-Boss says Seth didn't get pinned at Money in the Bank. He could get a rematch if WWE won. If WWE won, anyone could do anything, let's be fair. Nye says, will Seth be at SummerSlam? Yes, he will. He is one of their biggest names, and he will be heavily featured. Hector says, in hindsight, Drew saying a cash-in if he won Money in the Bank, so that's on him, because if we knew, so did Punk. Fair. He did set himself up there, Hector. Todd says, any Wire 6 news for tonight? Not at this point. We'll just be talking about the Money in the Bank pay-per-view that's just been. This is a sort of birthday and a goodbye show for a 2-week break, so this will not be news heavy. Ross says, hope the birthday was good, Tom. Been here a long time and congratulations with the house. Well deserved. Appreciate you, Ross. You have been here a long time, since well before I started the shows, I think, back on the Twitter days. DM, I'm not familiar with who What Heard is. It's supposed to be what culture? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Joseph says there was a rumour that Mami is showing up tonight on Raw. What's your source, Joseph? Ed says, Tom, if I send something on Discord, would you read it out as it's much too long to type on here? Okay. You're going to be like super nice about it. You're going to try and make me cry, aren't you? You're not going to win. Danny says, can we expect an incredible SummerSlam and a match for John Cena in his farewell tour? Likely, not guaranteed. Likely. Spider-Boss says, I think there's a good chance of Bayley losing the women's title now that Tiffany is Ms. Money in the Bank. I would imagine so, but she was always eventually going to lose it. Just not now. I don't think it'll be as soon. I think that's why Drew McIntyre got rid of his very quickly so that Tiffany could hold hers for a long time. John says, I think John said he wants 30 to 40 dates during his tour. Yep, which is more than half of Raw's. Blue says, hey Tom, with a Netflix deal it makes sense for Cena to be on Raw. That is indeed the intention. And Noob says, hello Mr. Colohue, how are you doing today? Doing very well, thank you Noob. Welcome to the show. You've also been one who's been here a very long time and I appreciate you joining us. Ishi says, do you see the Y6 and John Cena having a program? I do not. The Bray Wyatt John Cena storyline was wrapped up as succinctly as it possibly could. You'd only be bringing up history. Carl says, I've seen people annoyed we didn't get Howdy, and yes, it would have been amazing to see, but there are stories and Howdy would have been the main talking point. We need to let others have the spotlight too. Exactly. As I did mention on Friday, they did not want the Wyatt Six to steal the moment, to steal the spotlight, and to overpower everything else. Kevin says, Tom, first check the house is not paranormal. I take a poltergeist with me everywhere I go, and I say that because everything goes missing. And then a week later, turns up exactly in the place I've checked 5 times. When my partner first encountered this, she nearly broke up with me. But it happened. DM says, what's the plan for Randy at SummerSlam as of now? You got me. I'm leaning towards Tama Tonga. I would suspect Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu versus Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, personally. Robin Dave says, hey Tom, how would you book Roman's return? The way I would do it is relatively simple. At SummerSlam, after Solo Sikoa loses to Cody Rhodes, I would have Roman return, spear Solo, spear Cody. Then on the Monday Night Raw afterwards, the SmackDown afterwards, on SmackDown, I would have him reclaim the bloodline. Essentially stating, Solo, you tried, you failed. You can't certainly punish me for losing. In fact, I'm back and I'm going to take back my gold. The next PLE, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns is the main event. And during that match, Solo Sikoa turns on Roman Reigns to reclaim his position as head of the table. We move towards the full Bloodline Civil War. We go into War Games with Bloodline versus Bloodline, eventually culminating in Roman Reigns losing at WrestleMania to Solo Sikoa. Sean says if they want space, Triple H may have to make the shows longer. Possible, he won't. Dan, who of course runs wrestling shows, says more titles is never the answer. I cannot disagree with that. Spider-Boss says WWE struggled booking their women's division and both women's titles. It's difficult to see WWE adding women's mid-card titles. Doesn't mean they won't, but it's still something I'm nervous about the concept of. Blue says, Tom, I could see them using the women's mid-card titles like they do the tag titles to add some importance to the Raw and SmackDown title matches. They're already actively doing that. That's one of the reasons we had a championship match main event on Raw and a championship match main event on SmackDown. We had a championship match on Raw, I'm not sure it main evented. As I say, I had to skip through quite a bit of it. I can't remember at this point in time. Yes, we have a last bottle of cherry coke in the house as well. Eric says, Tom Colohue, much rather be a heel than a babyface. Heels have more fun. Jason says, with how heated the Punk-Drew feud is, do you see a stipulation added to their match? It seems perfect for Hell in a Cell. I don't see it yet. I suspect one match is too few for McIntyre and CM Punk, and I do think Bad Blood will feature a Hell in a Cell match between the two. Marcel says, I hope a record 17-time championship reign for Cena. Do you think it happens? Nope. Because, to be blunt, John Cena has said several times he is not planning to become the record holder when it comes to World Championships. To my knowledge, he's not interested in competing for them anymore. DM said Bron Breakker losing clean to one finisher was a weird booking move after all the strong build for him. We'll see how it goes after. Good to hear, Dan. Appreciate that. You're welcome. You're welcome, Anton Dom. Right, okay. Ironically, for those that didn't know, one of the main reasons I'm aware of Give Me a Hull Yeah is because Tom Colohue was born in Hull, in an area called Preston Road. This is where I lived growing up. An area called Preston Road. I went to a primary school called Maybury, where I was often the referee in the wrestling matches. It's good times. It's very good times. It's also not because it was Hull, but you know, we do what we can. Thank you, Robin Dave, appreciate you. Spider-Ball says at least for one night Chad Gable wasn't scared by the Wyatt 6. They seem to have moved on from him relatively quickly. I'd imagine they'll be coming back. Ricky says, will you be doing SummerSlam when you come back? I will. As I mentioned, my intention is to be back full-time. Well, not full-time, you know what I mean. Back with my usual schedule, including PLE Wednesdays and WTF Wrestling, by the 22nd of July. So 2 weeks off, 22nd of July return. Spider-Ball says, I think Rhea's return helps a lot. So Liv has an opponent, and WWE, remember, they have a women's division on Raw. Still yet to see anyone tell me what the source is on this rumour, apparently. The other Mike says Punk versus Drew with Seth as special guest ref. Seth only hates Punk, so I don't reckon so. DM says they should rename McIntyre to Drew getting Screw McIntyre. I mean, everyone does love screwing Drew McIntyre. I've been over it. John says, since Great American Bash is next for NXT, do you think that's where Julia appears? Seems likely at this point. We'll see when she does eventually appear. She was originally slated to be at Heatwave, challenging for the championship. It does create more opportunities for other women, but it does mean that Roxanne will have to wait a little longer to make her appearance. Is she? You'll find out tonight, I'm sure. WrestleLamia, thank you DM Hunk. WrestleLamia does not report news, they re-report news. They are an aggregator, they do not get exclusive news. So it may have been just speculation. Spider-Boss says, I think Tiffany can have a Carmella type cash-in with holding the briefcase for a long time. I agree. Sean says, CM Punk said if this is it for John Cena, he wants to wrestle him one last time. He also said he will successfully get him out of retirement. Nobody says, I don't think the Y6 are going to bring up the past as much as we think. They seem focused on the current agenda. Wiggly says, do you think Cena will get championship number 17 before he retires? I do not. Ross says, people are upset with Drew cashing in, but I genuinely think it enhances free future stories. I would have been a lot more disappointed if not for the fact that it did continue the build to Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. They do, after all, hate each other. Spider-Boss says, fans on Money in the Bank 2023, F Roman. Fans on Money in the Bank 2024, fans chanted, we want Roman. They did, because they love the man. Sean said there are certain superstars Netflix wants on Raw. Yes, all the biggest and best ones. And, you know, they'll get them. But they also want all the biggest and best ones on SmackDown. Because Netflix is getting SmackDown too, just not in the US. Rizal says they're really going to have Solo versus Cody main event SummerSlam. That's very underwhelming, not going to lie. Depends on the Roman Reigns of it all. Wiggly says, I want to see Rock versus Cena Part 3 before Cena retires. Not sure he'll get that one. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that clarification. Sean says, I'd like to see John get the IC title during his tour. Doesn't seem impossible. Could see that working. And Spider-Boss says, I think Roman can return and focus on Solo and the new bloodline for a while. Roman can face Cody after he's done with Solo. I think ultimately, Cody's story right now isn't Cody's story. He's a champion, but it's about Solo and Roman. Hello, Wiggly. Sean says, Bron Breakker loses to one finisher, but it took Roxanne 5 finishers to beat Lola. Yeah. Hell of a kick. Valencia says, are you aware of any other WWE contracts expiring this year? And if so, what are the chances of them being extended? There are quite a few that are up this year. It depends on the individuals. And I don't have many names. And even if I did, I wouldn't be sharing them, to be blunt. Hopefully, people continue to have that work. But if they've chosen not to share their contract status, I don't really want to be someone sharing it on their behalf. I remember Ann Libby Way. Old Town I'm not familiar with. Ann Libby Way I do recall a little bit. Hull represent, indeed. It brings back a lot of memories. I very rarely go back. I've got a lot of family there. I very rarely go back. I left when I was 13. Literally my 13th birthday. At the day after my 13th birthday, on the 8th of July. To refresh. Came over to Blackpool, where I had family. My mother was kidnapped. It was a whole thing. One says, happy birthday, Tom. What's your favourite cake? Every year for my birthday, I buy and eat a lemon meringue pie. In full. Wiggly says, I'm off to Paris for the Olympics, where I'm volunteering. Congratulations, mate. That sounds like a lot of fun. Joe says, happy birthday, Tom. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you. Danny says, looking forward to Raw tonight. Liv and Dominic teaming together will be so funny. We did mention on, I believe, Monday's spoiler warning that Liv and Dominic Mysterio, while Finn Balor is very much the story, you can start expecting some mixed tag matches. I just expected the first one to be Dominic and Rhea versus Finn and Liv. We'll see how that plays out. Michael says, worked wrestling reported, and then I stopped reading. Firstly, Michael, I very much appreciate you giving me the exact source. That's exactly what I like from your work right there. You always make sure to get the right information. Worked Wrestling is not a reliable source. They've been proven wrong repeatedly in the past, and it does tend to be that the only thing they accurately report are things that have already come out behind paywalls, such as when Fightful report what's going to be happening at Raw. If they're right, this is certainly a good relaunch for them, and people might choose to take them seriously, but they have been proven wrong a lot in the past. Spider-Ball says, weird decision, it took 3 Pop Rocks to defeat Lola Vice, but I'm Money in the Bank. You've already mentioned that. Okay, Ed has sent me a DM on Discord, and now I have to open Discord. I'm not expecting to have to do today. This might be emotional. Ed's going to try and tug at me old heartstrings. Nobody says I've seen it plastered all over from every wrestling outlet on social media today. Everyone? Then who was the original? Because if it was Worked Wrestling, I doubt Fightful's picking that up. Kervin says, what was the reason LA Knight needs to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match if the plan was for Logan Paul to cost him the match? Makes sense, but Logan never showed up. There was never a plan for that to happen. The plan to have him in the match was simply to help him get over and to make sure that people remember that Triple H haven't forgot about him. That's all. They had to have people in the match in order for the match to happen, so not everyone had a huge plan coming out of it. Joseph say, Tom, how are you doing today? Were you shocked about the John Cena segment and Money in the Bank? Yeah, of course I was hosting a live watch party. You can see my surprise on it. Wiggly says, who do you predict will be seen as final Mania match? Final Mania match? I'd imagine it'll be someone new. I'm leaning towards a Bron Breakker. Danny says, Randy versus Cena will happen and be a cracker on his tour. Had so many great battles. I think Chad Gable is also someone that definitely needs to be working with John Cena. You may have noticed Baron Corbin already putting his hand up and saying, I want a match with John Cena. Told you he'd be first. Spider-Ball says it took almost 3 years for someone who could pin Roman. Cody got pinned within months after winning the title. Yeah. Cody's not going to be a 3-year champion. The age of one champion for the length of time that Roman was champion is over. Spider-Ball says, it surprised me Trick Williams lost the NXT title last night at NXT Heatwave. He may be coming up sooner than we expect. DM says, if LA Knight loses to Logan Paul at SummerSlam, it will destroy any momentum he has left. Good thing that's not the plan. Chris says, I'm excited for Bad Blood to return on October 5th in Atlanta, Georgia. Should be a big moment for Cody and a big moment for AJ as well. Wiggly says, what did you do for your birthday? Worked on the house. That was kind of it. Gimme Hull, yeah, says, yeah, if you're ever in the area, I moved to Manchester. Briefly went to Backup and then Preston. Spent a bunch of time in Blackpool and Lancashire. I miss it sometimes. Good people. I'll have to reach out, mate. I'll send you a DM and we can have a chat about it. Because I do pop into Manchester every now and then. Might as well have a drink, have a chat about this whole crazy world that we're trying to make a living in. I'd love to do that. Anthony says, just how about... Not sure what you're referring to there. Says, Tom, how are you today? How's everything across the pond? Doing very well, thank you, Anthony. Or Anthony, depending on where you are, because it's Anthony in the US, but it's Anthony in the UK. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great time. Wiggly says, is LA going to get a title run at some point? I can't seem to tell if and when he's getting his run. The plan was, at least as far back as October, that he would be the next United States champion. Spider-Boss says, the Wrestling Observer called gymnastics the Kaylani Jordan versus Sol Ruka match. Some people on social media got mad after what the Wrestling Observer said. By the way, people should stop caring about what the Wrestling Observer says. Wiggly says, who do you think Cena will face in his final match? Hard to tell. I'd imagine that one might be Randy Orton. Sean says, according to Lucha Blog, Stephanie Vaca has offers from both WWE and AEW. Where do you see her landing? AEW. I don't actually think the WWE have made an offer as of yet. Sean says, Ethan only his 4th match on NXT champion. Yeah, they like the guy. Whereas I said, did you see Triple H getting roasted online after the NXT PLE? I thought the jokes were funny. Yeah, sometimes he gets in trouble though. Jason's happy B-Day, Tom. 10k coming soon for you. Appreciate that. It's a bit of a pipe dream. Always doing good work with your news. I try my best. I really do. But I appreciate you for saying that, Jay. Wiggly says, I'll return to Mank every now and then. We'll hit you up. That's pretty cool. Danny says, Y6 just tweeted, Tom, check it out. I'll check that out at some point when I can. Gotcha all. Yeah, sounds good. Dom, I should say. Gotcha, Dom. Ole says, just an FYI, most news regarding Rhea seems to be coming from Sportskeeda, who also reported Rhea returning at Money in the Bank. I guess if you say it about every show, eventually it will be true. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. This is one of the things I love about this channel and about spoiler warning in general. We get to the bottom of things. We don't just accept the situation. We push. And I love that we have an element of a newsroom here. There's a few people here that I think would do very well in an actual ongoing live newsroom. And I do think one day I'll set one of those up just to share news and share reporting. I'd really enjoy that. Yes, Zane, I did get predictions wrong for Money in the Bank. And? Is there supposed to be a follow-up to that? Wiggly said, did you see the Who Killed WCW documentary? I did not. Spider-Boss said, it's amazing that AEW dropped the ball on Ethan Page. I think he deserved more opportunities. They didn't necessarily drop the ball. Let's not forget he's currently in NXT as the champion. He's not exactly the World Heavyweight Champion. Okay? He's not exactly getting the biggest exposure in the company. Joey says, hey Tom, do you got any news on what the plan is for Drew in the briefcase? He's already used it, mate. Already used it. And Sean says a picture of Joe Hendry appeared for 2 seconds at the end of Heatwave. I think that means an NXT run is coming. Also, I'd like to see Joe win the TNA World title. It likely does mean that, yes, the WWE read social media and were fully aware of what people wanted. People wanted Joe Hendry. Okay, Ed. I'm reading it. I hope you're ready. Ed says, for those that don't remember the early days, there are many of you, of course, who weren't joining us just yet at that point. There were some days when it was just Michael or I sitting there over on Twitch. But by the time Royal Rumble came by, we had Tom monetized on Twitch. Throughout the entire time, Tom has dealt with every hurdle that could have possibly been put in his way. However, he's been here almost every Monday and Friday. He's been such an amazing friend and mentor to me in the past 3 years. From NXT watch-alongs that didn't focus on actually watching NXT, to modding trolls, to seeing him happier than I've ever seen him is one of the best things in life. Not doing it. To a true man, to a true legend, and to a hard-working man, happy birthday, you magnificent bastard. Let's keep the train rolling, and in 2 weeks, business is about to pick up. There are some OGs in this chat, and I, as always, will express my eternal appreciation for them. Ed, I still remember changing a gaming stream last minute to an NXT preview show because you had earned your hard-earned Twitch points and spent them at Stephen Larson's Going in Raw recordings on a raid. You wanted to send their entire audience to my Twitch channel to talk about wrestling. And you were pointedly ignored. I still remember the efforts that you go to, the constant support, and I cannot express enough how proud I am to see how far you've come as well. I still remember the days we were jumping in, we were talking NXT, we had no rhythm and no structure, and we were just going nuts and having a good time chatting between friends. And yeah, look at us now. We made it. We made it. Wiggly, I'm not confident, let's just say that. Wants to say, Tom, do you believe as of now Jade Cargill has been booked better in AEW than WWE at the moment? No. Joey says, I mean, do you know if there's plans for Drew to successfully cash in, or will it drag out for a while? No, he's used it, mate. It's over. Briefcase has been cashed in. Wiggly says, gosh, I've been subscribing to the stream for nearly 3 years. We started 4.5 years ago now. Nope, 3.5. 15th of January 2021. 3.5 years ago. Look at us now. Sean says, I've been seeing some fans want Cora to be Roxanne's next opponent, and she'd need to be a bit more fit first. Spider-Boss says, I just wonder what else Liv Morgan can do on her storyline with Dom. Seems the focus of Liv is Dominic instead of the women's world title. Yes. Khalid says, I'd love to see Joe Hendry have a match in NXT. Very excited. Ed just says, ha and yes. Danny says, we're going to miss the wrestling updates, Tom. What am I going to do? But important thing is getting your new home sorted and coming back better in your new home. It's 2 weeks. I think we can survive 2 weeks. Think we can do it. Pete says, damn, is someone cutting onions? Welcome, Pete. Danny says, I do house removal as my job, so know how tricky it can be, my friend. Yeah, literally, it's picking up a house and just putting it there. It's hard work. It's hard work. Gilly says, I'm glad I've been here since the Bray Wyatt news. Still here. I appreciate you, Tom. Good luck with the house, mate. Appreciate you too, Khalid. I do love how often you leave a comment or you drop in and just say something on Twitter just to encourage the algorithm. I really do appreciate that. Even if it is just simply, I'm looking forward to this news, or I'll see you for the show tonight. I really appreciate that because it does help us grow. Little things like that go a long way. It was me to say, Tom, just saw you live. What did I miss? Nothing really. Nothing really. It's a slightly different show tonight. Wiggly says, any timeline for Asuka? No, not as of yet to my knowledge. Sean says, Joe Hendry did have a match in NXT. He was in the Battle Royal to determine Trick's challenger at Heatwave. He will have more. Spider-Boss says, it makes sense. Corbin wanting a match with Cena. Cena cost Corbin his Money in the Bank cash-in 2017. 7 years ago. Wow. 7 years ago. And Chris says, smack the like button. Thank you, Chris. So 40 minutes in, and I want to do the whole review thing now, because if I don't, this show will end before we've actually done it. So let's get to the good old-fashioned review section of the show. We have 65 likes already, so thank you to everyone who's been reaching out, who's been jumping in, and who's been enjoying the show as well. Money in the Bank started with a rousing national anthem from the US, followed by a rousing national anthem from Canada. I do suspect this is going to become something that we see a lot of with the WWE, singing both the American national anthem and then the national anthem of whichever country, using a local artist, that they are in at the time. This is part of Nick Khan's we don't use that phrase. Part of Nick Khan's continentalization strategy. However, of the overall show, there was very little actual wrestling in the show overall. A lot of time was taken up by entrances, and a lot of time was taken up by commercials and advertising. The WWE certainly got the boys over. The longest match was the main event, which was just under 25 minutes. Outside of that, no match went for more than 17 minutes. And we had 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, which were both relatively brief. That said, the tempo was pretty good, the pace was pretty good, I never felt bored, which is always a good thing, though I did have an entire chat keeping me company. We started with Drew McIntyre winning the briefcase, robbing it very last minute from Jey Uso. Drew McIntyre is not my prediction, but he was one of the betting favourites and had been for most of the week, so it wasn't too surprising. A lot of people were of the opinion that Drew McIntyre would be winning, cashing in on that night, as he had stated, and the CM Punk would be interfering, which is exactly what happened, meaning a lot of people knew exactly what was going to happen. This, for me, felt slightly too predictable, and also I feel that the Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins match was probably the weakest on the card. Seth Rollins clearly wrestling within himself, he's recently back from injury, and there was a botch, which I felt may have been an injury, but it looked like in the end it was more embarrassment that caused Damian Priest to not exactly perform brilliantly afterwards. He seemed a little bit out of it, but it may have been a level of embarrassment. He simply did not kick out when he should have done. Priest should, at this point, have lost the championship to Seth Rollins, but that kind of ruins the whole cash-in concept. The referee did call an audible. Referees are specifically instructed not to do that. They are supposed to referee a match kayfabe, meaning that he should have counted free, but the referee called an audible. Triple H has taken the blame, has tried to protect Damian Priest. The referee is not going to be punished for anything that happened there. I was also surprised to see Sami Zayn defeat Bron Breakker, but while surprised, wasn't disappointed. While Bron Breakker's had a great run to start with, it is sort of nice to see him hit a brick wall. I am reminded of Sami Zayn's match with Braun Strowman way back when, in, I believe, early 2017, I think it was, when he simply survived Braun Strowman for 10 minutes, and they called that a win. Sami Zayn's position on the card is not what it once was, and beating Bron Breakker really shows how far he's gone up the estimations of the WWE. As regards Bron Breakker, he will have other moments. This unfortunately has been a setback, but we'll see what happens afterwards. I'm going to catch up with the chat at this point. Wiggly says, any scope for Taker returning during Cena's retirement? Nope. John says, do you think John Cena should appear in NXT and work with some of the younger talent during his tour? Yes, I do. Spider-Boss says, it seems the ref botched the free count before Drew appeared. The ref did not. Noob says, from what I heard from Fightful, Asuka won't return until 2025. Thank you for sourcing. Danny says, when could we expect Charlotte Flair back? Hearing she is close to returning. Might be because I've said she's close to returning. Sean says, it looks like Damien didn't kick out, which he did not. Khalid says, yeah, glad I saw you. I say to you on Twitter, saying see you later, very hyped. It really does help, mate, and I appreciate you for it. Wiggly says, we see that at NFL in the UK. They sing the US national anthem first in the UK, so they're taking a leaf out of their book to give it a more international sporting event feel. Absolutely correct. Nobody says 10 out of 10 advertising was impressed. I like it. Ole says, as a Canadian, I wish the Manfa sang our national anthem instead of Who We Got. I'm not aware of them, so I don't really want to judge. Michael Vasquez says hi. Hi, Michael. Alexa Gamer says, Damon Kemp has confirmed he's no longer with WWE. Interesting, I was not aware of that, Alexa Gamer. Appreciate you for bringing that news in. Sean says, Drew now joins John Cena, Damien Sandow, Baron Corbin, The Miz and Braun Strowman as failed Money in the Bank cash-ins. Nobody says Seth should be champ. Yes. And Spider-Boss says, the ref already botched the free count at King and Queen of the Ring when Gunter pinned Randy Orton. Yes, but that one was the referee's fault. It was me, said if Seth pinned Priest, it would have screwed up too much. It would. I get why the audible was called. I just don't necessarily know that the referee was instructed to do so. He would not have been blamed if he counted the free and rung the bell. Jay says, carrying Cross, this version of his character is not doing it for me. I think he needs to go back to NXT to revive his old character. He was more intriguing. What do you think, Tom? I think going back to NXT now for a prolonged run is a death sentence for a wrestler, especially when the WWE are looking for people to release. Razar says Chelsea Green is getting a lot of praise from WWE according to Fightful. Think she did great at Money in the Bank. Hope she gets more opportunities. I did report a couple of weeks ago that Chelsea Green was getting a lot of love from WWE. James McConville says, hey Tom, love the channel. Who do you see as Cena's final opponent? Firstly, thank you for the kind words. Secondly, while he will face off with a number of different people, for me, the final opponent of John Cena should be either Randy Orton for that full circle moment, or a Chad Gable for the full circle of the debut of John Cena. It was me says also Priest would have been out of JD. Yes, he would have. Wyatt6 says, do you think people read too much into briefcases rather than long-term storytelling? You have to have a mix for me. There has to be long-term storytelling, sure, but you also have to have some big, memorable moments. And at the very least, that's what Drew McIntyre delivered. Spider-Boss says Chelsea Green would have been a good Miz Money in the Bank. I wholeheartedly agree. To continue talking about the event, what I will say is that I really enjoyed the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, though there was a 2-minute section where there was a number of heavy botches. In general, once the women had recovered, they'd recovered in a way that resulted in a very fluid and very fluent match in the end. A number of people, they didn't allow their confidence to be knocked, and that did show as the match came to a head. It gave the whole match a feel of danger, certainly not what the WWE was necessarily going for, but also it didn't hurt the match because of that. I remember a while ago a Hell in a Cell match between Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens, where we all knew Shane was going to fall off, we just didn't know how or when. In the end, every single step he took was fraught with fear and danger, and it really gave the match a unique feel. I think that's what they got with the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Tiffany Stratton picked up the win. I think that was a very good choice. There were a number of very good choices here. She would have been good. She will be good. Chelsea Green would have been good. Lyra Valkyria would have been good. Naomi would have been good. Io Sky, Zoe Stark, they would all have been good in different ways. Tiffany Stratton getting that briefcase is a clear sign from the WWE that Tiffany Stratton is going to be pushed. I am aware that Tiffany Stratton has made a point of thanking Becky Lynch for the run that she's currently on, because her work with Becky Lynch, which Becky Lynch was largely asking to do, has resulted in her getting this particular position and earning the faith of the WWE. When I say that many women in the WWE miss Becky Lynch basically advocating for them, Tiffany Stratton, thankfully, was already firmly advocated for. And in the main event, Solo Sikoa, thanks to a little bit of chicanery, a little bit of shithousery, and a little bit of ref bumpery, pinned Cody Rhodes, thanks largely to Jacob Fatu and a good old-fashioned whisper in the wind. If anything, they really put over the FUM, because the FUM eliminated Kevin Owens, it eliminated Randy Orton, and it put down Cody Rhodes for more than a free count. The match itself was decent. Again, it didn't feel boring at any point. There was intrigue in Jacob Fatu. He was able to show a bit of what he could do, and they also didn't overstay their welcome. There was a couple of moments where maybe Kevin Owens was getting beaten up for a bit of a too prolonged period, but outside of that, when you consider it was a bloodline match, it actually ended 20 minutes early. So I cannot complain. They've done a good job keeping the build going for Solo Sikoa, though he was overshadowed by Jacob Fatu. Solo versus Cody Rhodes is unlikely to be memorable unless we see Roman Reigns. But to be fair, you'll never see it coming. You'll never see it coming. Martin, how you doing, mate? Thank you very kindly for joining us. You don't need to apologise for being late. Whenever you're here, you know I'm happy. And also, thank you very much for a very generous donation. So smash that like and show some love and get some cherry coke, Tom. Appreciate you. I'm going to do that right now because I've got some, like the remnants of one. Bit of cherry coke to keep me going. This will be, as I've said, the last show for 2 weeks. It was my birthday yesterday, so it's also the birthday show. 22nd of July, we will be back. John says, who do you see beating Obafemi for the NXT North American Championship? I wouldn't put it past Joe Hendry at the moment, to be honest. It was me, says Tom, have you heard anything about the women's mid-card titles and the direction of each? I haven't. They don't really have enough time to get the women's championships on PLEs. They didn't even feature one at Money in the Bank, and they tend to rotate them instead. So I don't honestly think it's a good idea. John said, did Becky want to lose to Tiffany during her run in NXT? Yes, she did. Rosal says, the women's Money in the Bank was complete chaos in a good way. I was legit scared for everyone's safety the whole time. White Six says, why don't they push Pretty Deadly, or will they... Or will their time? Like Isla Dawn and Alba Fire? I'm not sure fully what you're saying there, Y6. What I will say is that it was a late decision for Isla Dawn and Alba Fire to get the championships. Unfortunately, they did benefit from a certain lack of faith in Jade Cargill at the moment. Jade Cargill is back working at the Performance Center. Her moment will come again. Dane says, I want to see Hulk Hogan have one more match. Do you? No. Spider-Boss says, Tonga Loa almost botched the low blow on Kevin Owens. He did botch the low blow. It was awkward. That's why I didn't expect to see him in the match, by the way. King Azza says, Tom, do you think the Money in the Bank briefcase was wasted? Didn't need to be wasted for a feud that was already hot. Not necessarily. If they're going to have the current champions for a while, and let's say Gunter's the next champion, he's going to be champion for a while, then the briefcase isn't good. If you're going to fail the cash-in, fail it quickly. Ross says Jacob Fatu is an absolute star. Nobody said, do they have Dr. Pepper over there? Yes, they do. It's the second most drank drink over here. Marlon says, I'm in America then, so maybe in parks, but we'll watch back when I can, mate. Back early August. I'd imagine that was a response to Danny. Yes, it was. Spider-Boss says the Raw Women's Division certainly misses Becky, with the current Women's World Champion has her attention on Dom, and the rest of the Raw Women's Division doesn't get much TV time. Yeah, well, unfortunately, they just don't give her an opportunity, really, to actually compete. And they want mid-card championships. I can't see it. I just can't see it. To recap then, this is the last show in this house. That wall is going bye-bye. The next wall you see is going to be worse, but over time it will become better. The repairs will not stop in time for me to start streaming again. In fact, there'll be a lot of work still to do on the office, and I've kind of had to abandon it to make sure that my children's bedrooms are ready. So don't be surprised if for a few shows the backdrop's actually worse than what you're seeing right now. But it will be a new house, and there will be a members only video showing the transition of what we're doing with the office. Until then, it has indeed been my birthday yesterday. I want to wish myself a happy birthday. I want to show myself some love, because as someone who didn't really celebrate and was living in an intense depression until he was 33 years old, it's nice sometimes to be able to say, hey, you did it. Because I did. I want to send a thank you to all of you for helping me through some dark and difficult times. And I want to just celebrate the fact that those dark and difficult times are over. If you're going through hell, keep going. And look forward to your 30s. They're good for you. Until then, though, and I can see so many people sending good wishes, thank you so kindly. Until then, this is Tom Colohue signing off until the 22nd of July. Thank you for your time, your support, your company, and your friendship. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I've got to take apart a desk.